Well, hi everyone. Camera's getting steady, and my name is Gary Mortensen. I'm a card-carrying member of the Austin Friends of Traditional Music, and I'm right now here at Lazarus Brewing Company on Airport Boulevard in Austin, where the monthly Old-Time Jam is going to commence in just a few minutes. And today I'm going to be talking to the gentleman to my left, Mr. Steven Dao. But before we get to that, I'll tell you a couple things that are coming up. We'll be back here again in April for the monthly Old-Time Jam, and it will take place on April 20 from 10 a.m. to 2 p.m., and that's the Lazarus Brewing Company on Airport Boulevard. Just a couple days later, several days later, the Camp Jam will take place out at Camp Ben McCullough in Driftwood, Texas. Great campground, great event. It's a festival with no structure whatsoever, no admission charge. Admission is free, and we just go out there to pick and hang with our friends and have a good time. So you want to check that out. It's April 26th through 28th. And then on the 2nd of May, World Music Night will happen. This is an event curated by our own Daryl Myers, board member of the AFTM. And he's put together a fine program of world music, including Balkan singing, Serbian folk music, and music from the sitar. So that's a good thing we got looking forward to next month in early May. But it's still back in March, and I am here with Mr. Steven Dao. Steven is an enthusiastic participant in our old-time jams here. And the particular reason I wanted to speak to Steven today is because he is the recipient of the 2024 AFTM scholarship, which sends a deserving and talented musician such as Steven to the Swannanoa Gathering, and that'll take place in July. Well, Steven, thanks so much for coming in to chatting with me this morning.
Thanks for having me.
Yeah, I know you're anxious to get your fiddle out and tune up, but we can just talk for a few minutes. You can tell me a little bit about yourself. I've seen you at several jams playing the fiddle, of course, and has music been a lifelong thing with you?
Yeah, so like when I was, little in public school, I grew up playing a lot of classical music. I didn't play the fiddle though. I didn't play the violin either. I played the viola, which is kind of interesting because it's very similar to the violin, right? Like you hold it on your shoulder, you bow kind of the same way. But it's like sort of a different instrument, like it's tuned a bit slightly differently, and it plays a different part in like the classical orchestra. But yeah, like I basically grew up playing viola, and it was only like a couple of years ago that I got into old-time stuff.
I see. So you played viola since, how old were you when you started?
Oh gosh, 6th grade, I guess, however old that is.
Yeah. Do you still play some viola on the side?
I do, so I still do some like classical stuff around town, mainly like chamber type stuff. I do like a chamber orchestra at ACC, which has been really fun. But yeah, like just to keep up those classical chops, I suppose.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Well, what was it that sparked your interest in fiddle playing? Do you remember?
Yeah, so it was during like that time period during the pandemic where like everybody was like looking for something new to do, right? Like I think like we were all like stuck at home, or like there wasn't like much like happening, and I really wanted to keep playing music, but I didn't really have anybody to play with at that time. So I just started like looking around like on YouTube basically for like, like violin and fiddle stuff. And I don't know how, but like I stumbled upon the old-time stuff, and there was like, I don't know, like it felt like really nice. Like there was some kind of like spark when I like heard a lot of the old-time stuff, and I was like, I really want to get into this. So I actually started like trying like some of the old-time stuff on my own, but like on my viola. On my viola.
Yes.
Instead of like, because I didn't have a violin at the time, and so that was really fun. And then eventually, like, I think like once stuff started opening again, and like people started like running jams, I was like, okay, maybe I should like come out to like one of the jams. And I think like that got me really hooked, like being able to play with other people.
Yeah. What was that like the first time you sat in a jam? Were you pretty confident, or not so much?
Not so much.
Yeah.
I was like, okay, I kind of know a couple tunes, but it was mostly like just an experience of like trying to figure out how the jams worked, because I'd never been to like one of those before, and just like hearing a lot of the tunes. And so like I was like going in sort of like really nervous actually about like, okay, how do I,
Yeah.
am I like gonna look like an idiot, you know, coming in? But like actually everybody was really nice, and that was really fun. So like I felt like the whole community has been like very welcoming,
Yeah.
especially like with the slow jams.
Yeah. And I suppose you had to learn tunes primarily by ear, is that true? Or
Yes, that's true. So one of the funny things, we were talking about this earlier, is that if you learn viola as a kid,
Yeah.
but you don't learn, say, like violin instead, all the classical music for viola is written in alto clef. So it means that it's, unless you like train yourself, it's really hard to read like normal music that's written in treble clef.
in treble clef.
Yeah. So like even when people write down, say like fiddle music, they'll write it down in treble clef. So I'm looking at it, and it does sort of look like, it sort of looks like French, you know? It's like written in the same letters, but like it's not English. So like I could like strain my brain to try to read it, but ultimately like I found like, yeah, I've learned it mostly by ear, which has honestly been really fun to do, because like you can sit down in a jam, people will play like a new tune, and then you can try to pick it up by ear and like maybe like write down what the title was and try to look it up later.
Yeah. And is it true that people who are classically trained don't have a lot of facility with ear learning tunes typically, because you're so used to having your music on the page in front of you?
Yeah, I think like it really depends, but it's definitely not emphasized, you know, like in school or like when you're like taking classes as a kid, because they're really trying to get you to, you know, like be able to read the music, and there's a lot of focus on that.
Yeah, play as written.
Yeah, exactly,
Yeah.
play as written, right? I think like there is a bit of like flexibility, especially like when you get like more proficient in classical stuff, and especially like when you're playing in like small chamber groups, and then they start to emphasize that, you know, like you need to like listen to everybody. So there is a bit of ear training going on, but I would say like that's not my emphasis.
Yeah. Well, you're in Austin now, of course. Where does the Steven Dao story begin?
Yeah.
Where does the story start, Steven?
So I grew up in Houston. So that's basically like I went to like all the way up to high school in Houston, and then when I graduated, I went to UT. So I was here for about like 4 years back in the early 2010s. And then after that, I went to California for a few years. It was fun, but like after the pandemic and everything, I wanted to be closer to my mom, who's back in Houston. And so I decided, hey, you know, like Austin would be a good place again to come back to. It's a town that I know well from at least college. So it's probably like around over 3 years ago I came back to Austin. Yeah.
We're certainly glad to have you here. Are you doing any classical playing in the Austin area?
Yeah, so I've been doing like this past year, I've been doing like a small chamber orchestra that's conducted by Robert Radmer. He does like a lot of classical, sort of like these amateur community classical groups around town. And before that, I've just been like sort of like bouncing around trying different things. But there's the like Austin Chamber Music Center also, and they do like basically like it's sort of a system where like you put your name in with what instrument you are, and then they collect everybody, and then they try to figure out what groupings would work, which is interesting. So I played in like a string trio with them. Yeah.
But you had experience playing string trio or string quartet music in your history, I suppose?
Yeah, here and there.
Yeah. And have you done orchestral playing as well?
Yeah, so orchestral stuff, I haven't really done much since I've been in Austin, besides like smaller chamber orchestras, which is like a string orchestra that has like maybe 20 people. But back when I was like living in California, I used to play in like a large like community orchestra. And that's quite an experience too, because it's, you have like 50 people and you can only meet once a week. And you try to learn like a whole symphony. So that's where the reading music comes in handy.
Yeah. Now, do you play any other instruments beyond viola and violin? Have you?
No, I haven't. Yeah, those are really the only two that I've played.
Well, I know all of us at the AFTM are pleased that you decided to give fiddle a try. And it looks like you're having a great time. I was taking pictures of you and everyone else here last month, and I'll do a little bit of that again here today. But I can tell you that the board, of which I'm a member, is really excited that you applied for the scholarship, and we're really excited that you're going. And that'll be this July, I think.
Yeah.
The Swannanoa Gathering is quite an event. They have several sections. They have a guitar section and old time, but different instruments are featured, a banjo weekend. So it's for the traditional musician. It's a real jam of an
Yeah,
event.
I've never been before, but like I've heard so many things about it, so many
Yeah.
good things.
Have you ever been to Asheville?
No, I haven't. Yeah.
Fun town in my brief experience, and a musical town, very much a traditional music town.
Yeah, I'll have to explore a bit around.
Well, Steven, I really appreciate you taking time to talk to us. We're getting close to the time when this jam is going to kick off, as you can tell by the sound behind us. So thanks again, Steven. Thanks to everybody for watching. And remember, our next jam takes place here at the Lazarus Brewing Company on Airport Boulevard in Austin, and that will be on April 20th. So we hope to see you there, and thanks again for watching.